Previously on Diego Tries Hard. So it's finally time to learn the story of Al. Al has sifted through his photo albums over the decades and he's separated them out in different phases of his life. So over the next several weeks, possibly months, Al and I are going to go through those photos, and Al will be sharing some stories with us, and in so doing, telling the story of his life. Coming up on Diego Tries Hard.
Yeah, I retired in 71, 70, 71.
When it comes to D.B. Cooper thing, I think it's appropriate that you can't get out of the 70s without mentioning D.B. Cooper and Al and the connection there, because
there's some very interesting connections.
Right, for sure. You didn't think you'd get through the 70s without talking about
I don't remember much about it.
It was all a blur.
Let's head into Al's house and start the story.
All right, where did we leave off?
Last time we spoke, we were talking about your life in the 1960s.
Yeah, we left something out in the 60s. There was a job I forgot about. Not the last job, but the job before that was with Swan Wooster in Portland. Kind of a structural engineering outfit, which I was wanting to be. So I worked there for a year or so. It was right downtown. There was this real pretty girl that worked right across the hall, and I think it was a travel agency of some sort. All the guys in my office, they'd get there early. We're up on the third floor. They'd all line up in the window and watch this girl pull into the parking lot and walk across to come to work because she was so pretty. So they had a lunchroom in the building. Sometimes she'd be in the lunchroom same time we were. Got to say hi and, found out her name and things like that, but we hadn't really ever talked or anything. We were eating lunch in our lunchroom one day. She was sitting behind me. And I turned around and tapped her on the shoulder and said, "Hey, you want to get married?" And she said, "Sure." So I said, "Okay, I'll pick you up Friday night after work and we'll go pick out a ring." She said, "Okay." Somehow I knew her address, where she lived and everything. I don't remember how I knew that. She was living with her parents and only a couple blocks from where I had just bought a house. So I went over Friday night. She wasn't there. Her parents didn't know anything about it because apparently she thought I was joking. Back at work on Monday, I said, "Well, I showed up Friday night and you weren't there." "You were serious?" I said, "Well, yeah." "Oh, well, let's try again." Next Friday, okay. So she was there the next Friday. I don't know if we went and bought, I don't think we went and bought a ring or anything. I think we went out to dinner or something. We were engaged, I guess. And we got married. How long before the wedding?
Yeah.
I don't know, it wasn't that long.
Wow.
A month maybe.
Oh my gosh.
Sherry, what was her name? It was actually Charmaine. She went by Sherry.
You look very happy in these pictures, Al.
Yeah, she was a pretty girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all 1970 now. She had just converted to Mormonism. We had to get married at her parents' house because I wasn't Mormon, so we couldn't get married in the temple. So it was kind of a small, relaxed wedding. And then I bought this little Datsun convertible. It was a fun little car. Probably why she married me. She liked that car. That yellow house I had in Westland with the 7 acres. After I was divorced from Carol, I kept it for a year or two. Then I sold that and made enough money off of it to pay cash for this house, which was in Lake Oswego, not too far from where my first house was. So that's where I went after Wesleyan. Yeah, we did some traveling. For a honeymoon, we went up to Canada. We were around through Montana and had a great time. We lasted, I don't know, a year or more. Oh yeah, the end of that. I was working at Western Electric. They sent me back to New Jersey to one of their, they had a school back there. They sent me back there for 6 weeks. I take 3 or 4 courses, engineering, management, computers, stuff like that. So I was with Sherry and I went back there for 6 weeks. And then at 3 weeks, they'll either fly you home for the weekend or fly your wife out to New Jersey for the weekend. So she came out for after 3 weeks. She was a little upset there because she wanted to go down to New York City. It was not close to New York City. She wanted to go to New York City, go on Fifth Avenue and go to Statue of Liberty and Empire State Building and all that stuff. And just for a weekend, we went to a party in Brooklyn the first night. Took her up to New Hampshire to meet my mom, and she came back. And then before my 6-week time was up, we were talking, and she said she wanted a divorce. And I said, oh, okay, I'm not very happy. And apparently she'd gotten back with her old boyfriend while I was gone in New Jersey.
Jeez.
So I came home to an empty house.
Oh, that's...
Quick marriage, quick divorce.
Yeah.
And we had fun. We traveled around a lot, did some hiking. Then after that divorce, we sold that house in Lake Oswego and bought that house up at Hyson Bridge.
Is that this one?
That's it. Yeah.
Going from Lake Oswego to where this is located,
Yeah.
that's like a pretty big jump for, I mean, I'm not going to share the exact location of these places, but I know the difference between Lake Oswego and where this house is.
From development, just one house after the other.
Yeah. This is in the woods here.
The house is close by there,
Yeah.
but it was still out in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're out in the country for sure.
Now I'm getting closer to where I am now.
Yeah. So is this the deck?
That's the
on
deck,
house?
yeah,
Wow,
and
so
the
you're
river's down
right
below there. Yeah. This is the view from down at the river. The deck was up above. I was in the Hyson house. We had a live band in the dining room one time. Really tiny little dining room, but we got a live band in there. See, I was still working for Western Electric when I moved out to Hyson there. For a while anyway. Now we're on to Mary Ann. This is my last wife and my favorite. Camping somewhere. I was going out with a friend of mine. That's how I met her. I was living down at Hyson when we met. We bought this house in Yakko behind the fire station. That's out in front of that.
Is this supposed to look like that famous picture?
Yeah,
Like the
that's what we
homesteader
were trying to do, I think.
I can already see why she is one of your favorites.
Yeah.
It seems like
The
it's
favorite.
fun.
And then we went to World's Fair out in Spokane, I guess it was. Yeah, Spokane. It was on the way there. We were on the way back. I don't remember.
Who's this guy down below? Do you remember?
What guy?
You see him?
Oh, that's Dusty. I didn't know. I didn't notice he was in there. Yeah, he was going out with my sister, or he got involved with my sister when we were at Hyson. My sister used to come up for summers,
Oh, really?
spend the summers up here from Texas. And she got together with Dusty. Had been friends with her. I met him in the tavern. There's a better picture of Dusty. And they went out to the World's Fair with us too, I guess. Then we went to Florida. My mom was living in Florida this time. That's that same old red pickup, I think. I painted it black, fixed it up a little, cut logs in half for the bumpers. That's great. You go out and run into something and crack the bumper. You just cut a new log. I replaced them 2 or 3 times, I think. That's in front of my mother's mobile home, double wide.
Yeah.
She had in a park down there. That was outside her garage.
Oh, you even had a camper on the back.
Yeah,
So you drove that all the way from...
from here to Florida.
Wow.
Via Texas. Because my sister was in Texas. It's the highest point in Texas.
Oh,
I stopped and hiked up there.
Guadalupe Peak.
And you probably can't see it on there, but I had a dragon painted up on the front of the camper.
Yeah, you can barely make it
Just
out
the
there.
outline, yeah. There's another one of Dusty. He got involved with my sister here at Hyson, and then when my sister went back to Texas for the winter, he went back with her, stayed with her for quite a while, a year or 2 or more. He was working on road construction down there. Making good money, I guess, heavy equipment or something. Yeah, he went to work one day, never came back. Nobody ever heard what happened to him.
What?
But he was like that. Okay? But, he really liked my sister, and, there was no indication they were having troubles or anything. He just went to work and didn't come back.
Just don't know. Like, don't know if he died. Don't know if he just up and started a new life.
I guess the people at work said, yeah, you went to work and left. You never came back next day or anything. Now, when we were at Heisen, Dusty had this crazy outhouse that we put in the parade a couple of years.
That's the outhouse there.
This is the outhouse. It was a 3-wheel, 2-person, 1-holer or something they called it. Like, it was a crazy thing. Like the last parade, they filled the toilet bowl up with beer and ice. That was back when things were a little freer around here. And you do that now in battleground parades. They made it a block or two, I think, and one of the wheels collapsed.
Harvest days in '74 were a little bit different than
they were
today.
a little more fun. This is the time Isam came. He was on his way around the world with this yellow pusher.
That's cool.
And he wanted to look at some property. He was thinking about buying some property, so we went out. But he was in a hurry. We never did buy anything, but that's the last time I saw him there. We were some good friends, knew for years and years. Dennis and Arlene, we used to go see him on weekends or whatever. But he couldn't control the alcohol. He died of alcoholism. Probably 40s.
Jeez.
Young.
Wow.
Yeah. This is Andy. She and her husband are currently doing the Pan American Highway. They rebuilt this school bus, made it real nice. They're going all the way to the tip of South America eventually, taking several years. They've been all over the world, India and everywhere.
That's cool.
Yeah. Hitchhiked kind of around the world.
Wow.
Started working on the old computer to hook up that slide thing. Hardest part was finding my password for it. I haven't used it for 10, 15 years.
Now we're upstairs in Al's house, so we can look at his 35 millimeter, what are they called? Films? Slides.
Okay, we're connected.
I wonder if we should just try that.
Doing something.
You said you have a whole nother box here. That's full. Oh,
4
those.
boxes.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think it's written on.
Oh, his mom on the chopper.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I put that one in there.
Bunch of bikes.
The spring opener in Corbett, I think.
All right, everybody. So Al was famous before the internet.
This is me on the right here.
There's Al.
With the chopper.
So this is Easy Rider magazine.
This Easy Rider, December '73.
All right, so there's the same picture of Al right there, and this is a different magazine.
This is kind of an anthology.
In the Wind.
Let's see, is this issue number? Yeah, this is issue number 1.
Okay.
Of In the Wind collection.
Collection of the best black and white action photography to hit the pages of Easy Riders. You remember where that was at? Where you were
Somewhere
riding?
between Portland and Corbett.
Okay.
That's outside of the city there.
Yeah.
There's some crazy pictures in there. So I
Had the place in Hyson.
Yeah.
And then at the same time owned in Yackle.
Same time I bought this house in Yackle behind the fire station. Marianne and I moved up here and rented out the house down by Hyson.
Okay.
We moved up here so I could work on this and get it fixed up to sell. About that time I bought a small apartment house in Yackle too. A 3-unit apartment house that I rented for years and years. And this house I sold twice and got to keep the parts. A lot of the parts are in this house. Yeah, I only paid, I think it was $4,200 for the house because it was really bad shape. But it had that stack of double siding outside, enough to do that outside. I worked on the inside, just fixing it up. It had holes in the floor, I could see dirt in it. But yeah, I had plumbing, electricity, and everything. I fixed it up and then bought this place, rented that out for a while, and sold it to a guy from Camas, I think he was. He just wanted it for an investment too, to rent. I forget what I sold it for. I think it was in low 30,000 or something, and I'd only paid $4,000 for it. And he gave me a pretty good sized down payment, and then he was making payments, personal loan. And a few years into that, he got cancer, terminal cancer. And so he just signed it back over to me. Well, you didn't want your money back or anything. He said, no, I'm going to die. I said, well, if you live or whatever, I'll give it back to you at the same right where you took off. And I guess he died. So then I rented it out some more for a few more years. And then Tom McDowell at the fire station got a hold of me, and they wanted to buy it to go along with the fire station property. He offered me $10,000, and I said, okay, if I get to keep the house. He said, sure. We don't want the house anyway. We want you. We just want the land. So I tore down the house, and a lot of this lumber came from that house. So that was a heck of an investment there. Made out really good. And then the little 3-unit apartment house, I think I paid $11,500 for that. Ended up selling it for 30-something. That guy made payments on that for years until he died, and then his estate paid it off, whatever the balance was. So I got rich in Yackle.
This property here
When I first bought it, yeah.
And what were your initial thoughts when you bought it? Was it to like live in this, fix it up, or tear it down? Or?
Yeah, all of them. Yeah. I got the ad that I bought it from. That's how I found it. Saw the ad in the paper and called the real estate agent. This was in the middle of winter, December, I think. Down at the bottom of the hill, it's about 3/4 of a mile. Down the hill, the road had washed out and had a flood. The neighbors down there, they had a aluminum ladder across to get across the creek. We had to park down there and hike up here 3/4 of a mile. I knew right from the start. You thought, oh, this is, nice to get out away from the office, but this guy's not going to buy this. The road came up around this way, and I came up around the corner, and I saw this cabin here. As soon as I saw it, I knew I was going to buy it. The muddy spots we had to get them through, and I think we had boots. The driveway wasn't nice like it is now. I said, well, I'd like to see the 4 corners, of the property. So we hiked around all 4 corners, which is 1/4 of a mile on one side. So it's a mile all the way around. Up and down steep hills and through brush
through the woods.
And trees. He knew where the corners were. He showed me all 4 corners. I said, well, let's go back to your office and I'll make an offer. And his jaw just he thought it was just out for nothing for the day. So, you really want to buy this? Yes, I do. So we went back and I forget what they were offering, 42 something. I offered 40,000, half down, and personal loan. They accepted it right away because the guy that owned it was in jail, and wife was trying to sell it, just pay fines and get him out of jail.
Wow. It was just you and the realtor, or was
Yeah, Mary Ann and I had split up by then for a personal reason I can't go into. It was nobody's fault.
When you bought the property, it had the cabin.
Yeah,
and then
just the cabin was on.
It had recently been logged?
The alder had all been logged off, but they left a lot of the fir trees and cedars. This was the back of the cabin, looking down from up that way.
So this little hill right here, is that still this hill?
Yeah,
out
that's
here?
the hill right out front of the garage. Yeah,
And
this
that's
is
the
the way
creek,
we
right?
walked up, and I can see that cabin up there. This is where I want to be. Been here ever since.
December 77.
Yeah.
78. You're still living in Yakult at this point and like going back and forth between
No,
here?
I think I moved up as soon as winter was over that first year. I think I moved up here to the cabin.
Okay. And are you retired at this point?
Yeah, I retired in 71, I think, 70, 71.
Oh.
Yeah, so a long time retired here.
Wow.
We're getting into 1980 now. Next episode.
So you didn't start building this place until the 80s?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, after Jesse was born.
Okay, everyone, now that we've heard from Al about his life in the 60s and 70s, I want to do a quick summary of everything we've learned so far, and we'll put the pieces of this giant puzzle together and see just how, according to Al, he was able to retire in his 30s. So Al graduated high school in 1958. 5.5 years later, he graduated college from the University of New Hampshire in 1963. During his last year of college, he worked part-time and took a few courses to finish things up. During that time, he was able to save up enough money to purchase the Volkswagen van, renovate it, and get married to Carol, and the two of them traveled across the country to the West Coast. They then lived in apartments in Portland and Tigard while Al worked his first job at ESCO, where he designed dragline buckets for 2 or 3 years. After saving up some money, he was able to purchase his first home in West Lynn. He lived there for a few more years after he and Carol got divorced. After ESCO, he worked for Irvington Machines, where he designed sawmill machinery. After getting laid off there, he moved to Alice Chalmers, where he designed high voltage transmission towers. Unfortunately, their economy took a dive and he got laid off again. He then worked for Swan Wooster in downtown Portland, which was another structural engineering outfit. This is where he met his next wife, Sherry, who worked in an adjacent building in downtown Portland at a travel agency. Around this time, he sold the house in West Lynn and was able to purchase a home in Lake Oswego. After he and Sherry split up, his next job was at Western Electric in Vancouver, and during his time at Western Electric, he purchased the Hyacinth House. There is where he met his next wife, Mary Ann. Soon after that, through a series of purchasing homes and rental properties in Yacolt, he was able to retire from Western Electric and utilize the money that he made from his investment properties to purchase the property that he currently lives at now and live off of the money that he made through all of those experiences that we just summarized. All right, everyone, so it's been about a week since I was last at Al's house and we recorded that footage that you saw of us talking about his life in the 1970s. And right now I am headed back up his driveway for multiple reasons. Before I ever started this series of videos about Al's life story, I made a tentative plan to do things in chronological order, and Al agreed to that. He has done so many things in his life and gone through so many different experiences, met so many people, and lived such a unique life that it just wouldn't do his story justice to do one video that's like 30 minutes to an hour long about his life. So I suggested we break it up into about decade increments, 10 years at a time, and let's tell his story that way. So that's what we've been doing. We've been working in chronological order, but now that we've gotten to the 1970s, I am going to break that order just slightly, and that is because of neighbor Al's striking resemblance to the famous sketch of D.B. Cooper. This story has been told many, many times, but very briefly I will summarize. A man named Dan Cooper, who later became known as D.B. Cooper, boarded a plane from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington, wearing a suit, sunglasses, and carrying a briefcase. And through a sequence of crazy events that I won't get into because I'll probably butcher the details, but long story short, he hijacked the plane and managed to escape with a briefcase full of $200,000 in cash. And he parachuted out of the plane in the middle of the night in the pouring rain and was never seen again. Now, as many of you know, Al's next door neighbor is the South family, and they are who introduced me to neighbor Al. And the South family doesn't become a part of Al's life until many years after the 1970s, more specifically around the mid-2010s. So later on in this series, we will get into detail about how they met and became friends and how Al and I met.
So that's how we met, but we'll wait for him to tell that story.
For the purposes of this specific video talking about Al's life in the 1970s, I thought it would be very appropriate to show the video to my friend Patrick first.
When it comes to the D.B. Cooper thing, it's like, I think it's appropriate that you can't get out of the 70s without mentioning D.B. Cooper and Al and the connection there, because
there's a very interesting connection.
Right, for sure.
So the only people in the world who have seen the footage that you just saw, the video that you just watched, is me and Patrick, he and his family watched it last night. So I'm going to go to their house right now, and I'm gonna meet up with Patrick, and then the two of us are going to go to Al's house. Good to see you, Sarah.
Here's Maple.
Maple, baby Maple.
Yeah.
She's here.
She just turned 4 months old.
Awesome. And Cedar's here. Oh, he's got to say hi too. Good to see you, buddy.
We met Al, and then fairly quickly, we filmed YouTube as well. We were doing a family-oriented, for families with younger kids, series where we did a reality treasure hunt, and I was trying to find different themes, and I picked this whole D.B. Cooper thing because that's local here. And our neighbor Al, he's such a cool guy, such a mysterious guy, and he was already doing some other stuff with us. He was willing to be a character in another series. That would be great if he could play the part of D.B. Cooper. So I talked to him about it. He was like, yeah, sure, you know. But the more we got into this, like the more we started to realize, oh my gosh, this, like, from the sketch of D.B. Cooper to the temperament that was described by Tina on the plane, the stewardess, the only person who had real good communication with this Dan Cooper person, lined up with the Al that we knew. And whenever I figured out that he retired right whenever
Wild.
DB supposedly
timeline.
did the deed, that was like, whoa, okay. We would like bug him. I was like, hey, are you, like, and so the whole time I'm doing this for my kids, right? For my son, who was like 8 at the time, I think,
Yeah.
or 7. And so it's kind of tongue in cheek for me and Al, but I'm like, so that we're pretending like he's DB Cooper, but I'm like, but he might be DB Cooper. It's such like a dream within a dream kind of thing, you know?
And then more things being leaked over the years, like seeing the younger photos of Al.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
wait a
Like the more we've seen in
Yes.
your docuseries
This
here,
is
the more of those
crazy.
photos we've never seen it hardly
Yeah,
any of
because
these photos.
you saw several photos, specifically like him with the one with the football.
Yes.
That was a famous one in your guys' series.
They look more like the sketch than any other suspect that I've seen from the FBI or anything. I've been wanting to have another serious conversation with Al about this, so this is exciting to have the opportunity to do that.
Also, he had some more of those 35mm photos that we didn't get a chance to look at. You guys saw he had a box full of them, so he might have some more photos from the 70s that we can take a look at. So let's head to Al's house.
All right, they're gonna go over to Al's house. Can you say bye?
See you, bud.
Such a neat spot right here. This is definitely my...
I hope he knows where we are. Hey, Al.
Hey,
We're gonna interrupt your one nice day out of the the week.
Yeah.
I already got my days work
Okay, yeah.
done. I mowed the lawn and got up neck wood for a couple days.
Nice. I bought way too many mangoes, so I don't know if you eat mangoes.
I love mango.
All right, well there you go.
I've never found any good ones.
Well, these
Unless I
are.
was in Hawaii.
Yeah, right.
Oh no, I was in the Philippines.
So I haven't told Al this yet, but I edited the video of your life in the 70s that we filmed.
I got lots more to add to it.
Okay. All right. So
I'll re-add it.
is it the slides? The
Slides,
35mm? Okay, so we're gonna add the slides. I edited a version. It's gonna be a little bit different than the one that you saw. So it's gonna have additional slides that I haven't seen yet. But I edited a version very close to what you guys just saw, and Patrick has already seen it.
Ah.
I watched it last night on a big screen. We
Yeah.
all watched it.
And so I was telling the audience that we've been doing everything in chronological order.
Kinda.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of jumping back and forth.
Yeah. There'll be
But-
a lot more of that.
You hadn't met Patrick by the 1970s, obviously. So you meeting them comes much later.
Yeah, that's another 3 episodes ahead.
Yeah.
Before we get there.
But because of their relationship with you and the DB Cooper case, which happened around the 1970s,
Yeah.
I wanted to show the video to Patrick first.
You didn't think you'd get through the 70s without talking.
I don't
So,
remember much about it.
It was all a blur. You know, we've asked you this question before because so much from the sketch that Tina made, I'm sorry, that Tina had someone else make, the stewardess that you had, the most contact with, I'm inferring here, on that fateful night to, and the more we see of these old photos of you, the more I'm like, man, that sketch really looks like Al when he's younger, and it's just more and more. We only had one photo with you by that football, you know, when you were younger. But man, the more we see, the more I'm like, man, you know, that really looks like Al. And the more and the temperament that she described, I'm like, you know, Al seems like the kind of person who could remain calm and even pleasant, courteous, gentlemanly like, which is how they described, in a kind of a difficult and stressful situation. I could see you certainly as that kind of person. You're also very smart. You are very resourceful. And so whether you had I mean, here you are at 83, you're still out chopping wood for yourself for an entire winter. You're doing everything here just about by yourself. A little help from Diego sometimes, only because, you know, it's nice to have a friend around.
Because I like the videos he mentioned.
Yeah. But you're very self-sustaining. So to think that you'd be athletic enough to pull off jumping out of a plane like that and landing, I'm like, it's certainly possible. And so there's so many things that just add up there to right around till where you retired and just moved out here into solitude. It makes sense.
I haven't even been on your zip line yet.
Yeah.
You mean come out of an airplane.
So anyways, all these things add up, and I thought, you know what, if he is, I wouldn't want anyone else to know. And obviously I think that you're the kind of person that wouldn't either, because the kind of attention you would get. So if I did ask you,
that wouldn't be good.
That would not be good. And I wouldn't want that attention because we're his neighbor and we love our privacy and seclusion here. And that would ruin this place for us.
Yep.
Because there's like, you'd be just about the most infamous character in the world for at least, you know, several years. And that would draw a lot of the wrong kind of attention. And so there'd be people popping out behind every tree around here, seeing if they could, you know, find some of that D.B. Cooper money.
I guess I better deny everything then.
Yeah. So we've asked him this question before, tongue in cheek, because I made the series. Axel didn't know at the time that it was fake, but he believed it, and I actually believed it deep down inside, even though I was acting, I believed it. I was like, oh, the more I did it, the more I got to know Al, the more I believed that he could be Dan Cooper. And but the more I realized if he is, when we asked him, he would say, maybe not, you know. And I'm like, that's the appropriate answer, because so, you know, we would want to ask you again, but the reality is that I don't want you to tell me, you know, because it would ruin the mystery for me, and then also it would bring the wrong kind of attention if you answered the question on camera. Yep. And so you would also have to prove somehow, but I mean, that could be easily done, I'm sure, with the right, you know, pieces of paraphernalia from the jump. But I wouldn't want you to. So are you Dan Cooper? I don't want to know. And I don't think we want anyone else to know, do we?
I don't want to tell you.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. But if you ever did decide to tell us, we would take that secret to the grave.
You would be the only ones I would ever tell if I ever did.
Right. But Jesse already knows, right?
Jesse who?
Jesse, your kids already know, right? Anyways, but we love you, Al. Even if you did achieve the only successful plane hijacking in U.S. history, we think you're a great dude. So.
Well, there's a lot of pictures of me in the slides in the 70s too.
Okay, well, let's go look at it.
All right,
let's
awesome.
go look at more proof.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So immediately after recording the footage that you just saw with Patrick and Al and Axel, the four of us went inside his house and we looked through some more slides. And I did add some slides from today into the video that you saw. Al shared a few more stories, but I'm not going to share them in this video. I have been collecting footage of stories that Al has been sharing that I haven't shared in the series, and so far I've got about 30 minutes of deleted scenes. So when we finish this series, I might have like an hour-long video of deleted scenes, stories that have never been heard, that I'll be editing into a video and sharing with everyone. So the deleted scenes video is yet to come, as is Al's life story in the 1980s and 90s and all the way up until now. But that's going to take a few more weeks, possibly months. There was a long gap between the 60s and the 70s video, but that's because it took a lot of work to put that together. So the 80s is probably going to be another big one because that's when Al's family and kids comes into the picture. So I can now have an attitude now because I'm leaving Al's property. Just kidding. I'm gonna keep a good attitude. Al definitely inspires me to be the best version of myself. So Al and I also sat down and he watched the video. I've gotten his approval on the past two. I have him watch the edited version before I release it on YouTube so that I can get Al's approval, make sure that he's okay sharing all of this information, pictures and all. And Al gave me the thumbs up. So that's the video you just saw. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one. Next week, I'm going to be back at my cabin. So very excited to return there and get back to work up there. See you guys. He's like, likes to go outside, sit in the sun, and then cool down on the stove. Yeah. Really cool down.